Welcome to the Born to Hustle podcast, where entrepreneurs share their journey and dig deep into their entrepreneurial DNA. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, Jane Newman.
Well, I've just finished recording the second episode of the Born to Hustle podcast, and I loved this one as much as I loved doing the first one. I am so excited to introduce Brett Davis, who is the gentleman that I interviewed in this podcast. He is a leader in his industry. He and his partner Sammy have gone to the top in 2 companies within his industry, and though I've worked with Brett for the last 6 months, I really didn't know his backstory and what made him who he is today, and I loved delving into that with him today, from being a chef to a personal trainer, and then building the skills of marketing and lead generation. And he dropped so many nuggets in this interview. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I did. Good. Welcome, Brett. This is Brett Davis, who is someone I have the pleasure of working with right now in my current business. And I'm so excited to have you on my podcast as my second episode. I am mainly excited, Brett, because I haven't heard your full story. I actually don't know the man before the man I know now. So let me introduce you as best I can. So Brett Davis and his partner Sammy run a business in social retail with me. He's actually the man that I talk about when I say I got curious about a leader who left my last company and I wondered what on earth he was doing. And in the prior company, Brett and Sammy were there 7 years, I believe, building from scratch, and basically was the first to max out the compensation plan in terms of months, built a fabulous team both here and globally, were very successful. And I think I saw you speak on stage a number of times, and I know that you had tremendous success there. But tell me, can you explain what happened that prior business?
Wow. Well, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here on your second podcast. Wow. Look at it. I love what you've done with the place. I love what you've created here. It's it's comforting. It's warm. So thank you very much. Well, the man behind the man before I knew the man. So that's the question. So, I was born.
Where were you born?
Had a mum and a dad. I was born in Maitland, New South Wales. Thank you so much. 1978 was a good year. I was almost a 1979 baby, but I'm 1978, so I'm showing my age here. You can work it out from there if you've got too many fingers and thumbs. But anyway, I grew up. I'm one of 2. I have a sister, and she's older, so I was obviously the better of the 2. I'm not even going to go there. But she's great. She's a great human. Anyway, I finished school. Just went through school. Had my ups and downs, like everyone does in school growing up, being a teenager in Toowoomba. Anyone from Toowoomba? Shout out to you, Carnival Flowers. And I grew up in Toowoomba, and I actually wanted to be an actor. Funnily enough, I actually had a passion for speech and drama and acting, and I was in all the musicals, and I went to an all boys school. So, we would, it was a very much it was a different culture, very football oriented. If you didn't play rugby league, you weren't really anything. And here I was, wanting to be being an actor. So, I was on the fringes, you could say. But I also joined a band. We were in a band, and I had my aspirations to become a rock and roll bass player, and we'd tour the world. And we got signed by a local record company. That was short lived though. The band basically blew up once the singer found females, and he ran off into the sunset. And
let me pause you there, Brett. I've got to ask you this: who were your musical influences?
Well, I often think. I often think about doing that post of the 10 10 albums in 10 days. And I do remember, you know, my early days was NWA, it was Guns N' Roses. I remember listening to those sort of things. I actually remember when I was a lot younger, one of my first cassettes. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gentlemen out there, cassettes. If you don't know what that word means, Google it. Anyway, it was a cassette, and it was, you know, like street hits, and it was like, you know, real hip hop and break dancing. I remember, you know, while my mum and dad were when we were growing up, we spent our early years in Sydney, and I remember setting up a bit of cardboard in the like, you know, in the back sort of concrete area of our house, and taking my ghetto blaster out there. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, as well.
Google that one too. Google that one.
Yeah, you better Google that, because that thing never goes out of fashion, right? And the ghetto blaster, I put the cassette in, and I'd do break dancing, and I'd put my hat out, and mum and dad would throw like 5-cent pieces in, so I'd be busking, and I had dreams of being a break dancer. Anyway, so NWA, Guns N' Roses, you know, there's a lot of all that sort of going on. It was around that era. Nirvana came in, you know, Red Hot Chili Peppers came in, and then you know, and then I loved sort of the alternative side of music, and Primus was there, Tool was there, heavy metal was there, but you know, I just love the whole, you know, like now I find myself driving around in cars listening to Justin Bieber. So I mean, you know, go figure. So anyway,
well, the world turns. The world turns.
That's right. Gosh, now I have kids, so everything's different now. Yeah. So anyway, so that was my sort of teenage youth. You know, Sonic youth. That's what we're all about. We're all about rebelling against the status quo. And then shortly after I finished high school, I went to college. Didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't go and do an acting audition. I broke my foot at schoolies. I ran across to the payphone and called my mum to tell them that I was there in the Sunshine Coast, and I ran across the road, and that was it. I broke my foot. In which case, I use that as my excuse for not doing acting. Maybe somewhere down there, I realized that's probably not what I'm going to do. Anyway, I went to college, did a diploma in management in hospitality. Did that for 2 years. Came out with really nothing, and so I thought, well, what else am I going to do? I don't know. I'll do chefing. So I became a chef. I did 4 years of an apprenticeship and became a qualified chef. Fine dining, and then for the next 5, 6, 7 years, I chased the dream of becoming a Jamie Oliver. You know, fine dining, and it took me to Melbourne, took me to Sydney, it took me to Canberra, of all places, and it took me around the world. I got to cook in the Ritz-Carlton in Singapore. I got to go to the Madrid Fusion Festival. I got to cook at Roy's in Hawaii with if anyone knows, the Iron Chef, Chef Sakai. I got to cook in the 5 Japanese chef dinner. So, man, it was a good experience. It's a tough one. I would say that industry is a tough one for anyone looking to get in. I was basically just me and my girlfriend, and she was in hospitality as well at the time. So, you know, we didn't really have much ties. So it's definitely a single person's life, that's for sure. And anyway, gave that up. I just couldn't deal with the hours anymore. Wanted to do more. And I sort of looked at going down the teaching part and looking at doing my education degree and wanting to teach people. And so, and specifically, I wanted to teach people chefing, like being in the chef industry. But at the same time, I was getting myself fit, and I used fitness as a way to get out of long hours. And I found Les Mills, of anything. Guys, Les Mills. I loved the group fitness side of things, and I found great enjoyment out of that. So I decided to change career paths, and I decided that I'd become a body step instructor. I mean, like me, body step. Is that right? So anyway, I went and instead of doing the education, I went to do my Cert 3 and Cert 4 in fitness and personal training. And wow, that's where I found myself teaching body step, body attack. I ran a PT company then for 10 years. I was a standalone PT on the gym floor, 4,000 members and 36 other personal trainers, all buying, it's it's like being in a room with one light bulb and 36 electricians trying to change the same light bulb. It was hectic stuff. So, that's where I got I could use my creative flair. And that was my first real taste of being my own boss and being in business for myself, and, learning about marketing and learning about lead generation, learning about all these different things, because you had to walk the floor and you had to, build a business. So I would say I was very successful in personal training and running a personal training business. And that's where I fell in love. I found the love of my life, Sammy G. I was dusting off her treadmill, and and there it goes. That one thing led to another, and we found each other, and then we left and we started up. We helped some other franchise gyms open up. We owned our own personal training company where we employed 8 personal trainers, taught them all sales strategies and all the things that we had built in our business. And one thing led to another, and then we saw the rise of the CrossFit. The CrossFit box thing was just going around the world, and everyone was doing CrossFit, and people would come in and say, "Oh, do you train in CrossFit?" And we're like, "What is that all about?" So we had to dig into it, and lo and behold, we found ourselves in a position where eventually we were able to open our own CrossFit box. So we owned a CrossFit box for 3 years, and in that time we found network marketing. We were looking for a way out. I think I have shared this story before, but we at that stage we had 4 children. Yeah, I sort of missed that bit, didn't I? But anyway, kids came along the way, so I don't need to explain that one to you. But we had 4 kids, one on the way, and we were looking for a way out. We were sort of, we were getting to that stage where we were burnt out. It was very relentless. 5 a.m. in the mornings, 9 p.m. at nights, 6 days a week. Then on the 7th day, you don't relax. You basically get prepped for the next week ahead. So, it was that constant wheel. It was just that wheel. And although the money sort of came in, it was just a wheel of life where we weren't really, we were looking at each other going, is there more to this? Is there more to this life? We're very creative. We enjoy the sort of process of biting off more than we can chew. And so we were looking for something. We just didn't know that it came in the form of network marketing. My earliest memory of network marketing was my dad did, I think it must have been Amway. And he used to drive around. It was back in the day when he had to order all the stuff and you had to deliver it to everyone. It was like, I'm not being the delivery person for anything. We had everything: shampoo, conditioner, laundry powder, the works. I mean, our house was absolutely covered in it. And I remember him waiting around for for a check, because obviously in those days it was, it got sent to you in a check. It didn't get just dropped into your bank account. But yeah, that was my earliest memories of network marketing. Obviously Tupperware, grew up inside of Tupperware. I always need lids, funnily enough. I always need a Tupperware lid. I don't know about you, Jane, but I always have bottles, but never lids. But anyway.
Brett, can I explore your father? So your father did Amway. Did he have a day job? Like, what was your memories of your father? Why did he do Amway?
Yeah, so dad was part of the £10 POM scheme. So he basically jumped on a boat when he was 18 from England and came over to here to Australia, and started in farming. He just got a job anywhere. Obviously, he just needed to survive, and then he joined the army. So he actually joined the Australian Army and went off to Vietnam and spent 26 years in the army. Wow. So I was born into an army life. So we traveled, we moved every 6 months, and, we were always in barracks, and we were always, in all the sort of normal haunts of the army. And obviously when I sort of say that we grew up in Toowoomba, that's basically where Dad got out of the army. So that's where we stayed. But Dad, yeah, after that, Dad was a bit like all over the shop. I mean, 26 years of anything, especially in the army sort of lifestyle, you sort of don't come away with sort of too much else. Like that's your main sort of story of life. So he sort of dabbled in he sort of dabbled in real estate, and then he sort of did tax, like he sort of just did bits and bobs from then on. And then he basically retired. So good on him. But yeah, I think it was just more of a case of maybe the promise of get rich and make lots of money, and I think maybe that was more of the Amway sort of story for him. Never eventuated, or maybe it did, and I never saw it. But no, it didn't.
So when you saw network marketing, was that ringing in your head?
Oh well, yeah. Well, obviously, you tend to sort of think about the past and then work out, how best to handle the future. It's like, well, based upon what I've learned about it, this is how I'm going to react. And well, I didn't really know much about it other than I was thinking, do I have to have a party? Do I have to do parties? Do I have to do the Tupperware thing? Am I going to be that woman, man, Tupperware person? I don't want to be that person. But, lo and behold, 6 years of it, and here I was. I was the Tupperware man, just not Tupperware.
Yeah.
But that was my, I sort of, I was open to it. I was open to conversation. I love business. I love opportunities. I love looking at, I love making money. I love thinking creatively about things. I couldn't find myself in a job where someone's telling me what to do. I need to, I've sort of gone through those years of doing stuff, and I sort of think to myself, I'd like to be the controller of the destiny, so to speak. So when things like these opportunities came up, I was like, no, sort of look around and you look for proof and you look for, are other people doing it? And then you sort of weigh it up and you're like, oh, well, this person is just normal. They seem normal. Well, if they can do it, I can do it. It's that sort of thing. So I was fairly open to it. If you have Sammy on here and she shares her story, she wasn't quite open to it. She comes from England. And, when we sort of started talking about this network marketing thing, it was like, nah, we don't do things like that. No, we're not going to go and hound our friends and, hang out in people's lounge rooms and stuff. We just don't do that sort of thing over here. So it took a little bit more, it sort of fit because we were looking for a way that we could add value to our customers, our members in the gym. And we were looking at supplement store. Like we're going to open up like a supplement store on the side of our gym, but that took a lot of outgoings. That took a lot of money. It was the traditional method of you buy wholesale, you store it, and you sell it retail. So, it was like opening wholesale accounts, it was all that sort of stuff. And then on top of it, you have to shell out your money, and then you have to store it, and then you have to try to sell it on. So this sort of network marketing thing sort of made sense, as opposed to, well, we didn't have to do any of the storing and delivering. It sort of we sort of just said, yeah, you should use some protein powder, get that one, and we'll get it delivered to you. So it sort of made sense. We never sort of, like I said, we were looking for a way out. We didn't think it was wrapped up in what network marketing had. And so when it came along, we were like, oh, wow, like this is a good like thing. But our focus was like, when we started making money inside network marketing, like because people were buying the products and stuff, we were like, oh, well, let's make some money so we can reinvest it back into our gym. That was the goal. The goal was always the gym sort of thing, or the CrossFit box, and we would make it bigger and better, and we would continue on that journey. But some journeys tend to take a left turn and a right turn, and this one definitely did.
And I want to go back because you gave me so much there. You were saying, you can't go back to being a job. Do you call yourself an entrepreneur? Is that a term you use to think of yourself?
Entrepreneur. It's a big word. Gets thrown around a lot. I wouldn't say so. To define the term entrepreneur to me is you solve people's problems for a profit. And, that's, I sort of, when I think entrepreneur, then you start thinking all the big names and all that sort of different stuff. And, you're like, oh my God, it's like, Richard Branson, he's an entrepreneur. And, like Elon Musk, he's an entrepreneur. He does those different things. But for me, I sort of, I think everyone has a flair in them that is, it's sort of like you make you have an idea and you take action on it. That to me is entrepreneurial. It's when you sort of think of something and go, oh my God, what if we could invent something that did X? There's a problem out there in the world, which is whatever. I'm going to go solve it. And that's the journey. The journey is more the entrepreneurial journey as opposed to, I'm going to go make some money. What should I do?
Mm-hmm.
It's like in the other way around. And my first encounter of like my entrepreneurial sort of flair was being a personal trainer. And when I was a personal trainer, I realized that, I would write all these recipes out and all these meal plans and, all these different things. And these people, it would just be pieces of paper that would end up in someone's sweaty sports bag. So that was a problem for me, because what I realized as a personal trainer was people could be responsible for what they did during the hours of where I was. Like I could help them, with their fitness when they came to me, during a session 3 times a week, whatever else, but I couldn't control what they ate. And that's the biggest part, right? Like, it's not like the squat or the lunge, it's what they're putting in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the problem. And I sort of think, well, when was I entrepreneurial in that journey? And that's when I built Calorie Kitchen. So I actually built a company inside the gym, and I thought, well, I could use my chefing skills and my knowledge of nutrition in terms of PT and actually create ready-made meals. And this is a few years ago. It was before U Foods and all these different ones that are out there now. But we would sell them in the gym. So I would actually put the fridge in the gym. Yeah, they probably sell them now. HelloFresh and all that sort of stuff are out there now. But we put a fridge in each of the gyms, and so people would be able to buy out like my food, and it was in bags. So you boil it. You boil it like it's like sous vide cooking, because that's what we learned. That's how we cooked in some of the fine dining restaurants. That was the process. So I did that. So I think that I would call myself that was an entrepreneurial journey in finding a problem and then having a solution to it.
Yeah.
Do I find myself an entrepreneur in network marketing? Network marketing is a different beast. It is definitely it's a hybrid. It's not quite one or the other. Like, I would say the entrepreneurs of network marketing, the people that create the products, create the vision, create the company, and they see the problem of network marketing, so they try to solve it, right? And so they create their own way of thinking. Whereas when we sort of come along as network marketers and like part of the field, we tend to be more of part of the process as opposed to solving the problem. So, that's a high overview of it. So very yeah, you definitely have to have some sort of vision for yourself, because it's very self-driven industry. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely, it's not, you don't have anyone really guiding you. You do spend a lot of time, hanging out in your own office, staring at walls, trying to work out, how to solve the problem. So there is elements of entrepreneurial exploration inside network marketing. Entrepreneur though, I'll leave that to the big guys. I'm just B-Dog floating along.
I love that. That's great. That's great. I mean, I think that's, my experience on 2 podcasts is that everyone's got a different version of that. One thing I wanted to pick up from what you said was you talked about having a vision. And I know a little bit of the story about when you first started in your network marketing business, that you apparently told someone that you were going to be number one in the company. Like you set a vision. And can you tell us that story, please? Can you hear me?
Oh, I've lost you.
Can you hear me now? Gone?
Yep.
You're back? I will repeat the question.
I can hear you.
I'll repeat the question. So you mentioned vision.
Vision.
Yeah, vision. So what was your vision? When did you decide to put your foot down on network marketing? Like, when did you decide, okay, let's see what we can do with this?
Well, vision is extremely important. you've got to, it creates the hunger inside of you to take action in anything you do. And without, it's no different to you watching kids and they say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a football player. I'm going to be a soccer player. I'm going to be a ballerina. That's a vision for them, and I liken it, without vision, you don't have, you sort of following blindly, like you're running around in circles. It's like playing archery with no target. You've got to have a target because that's the game. The game is shoot the arrow. Then the next question is, well, where do you want me to shoot it? And if I don't give you a target to hit, you could be shooting anywhere. In fact, you don't even know how to pull it back because you don't know where to aim. So having vision is about what's possible. And, I liken it to when you learning to drive, when you're learning to drive, and the outcome is you're going to get your license. The vision comes first. And for me, growing up, when it was coming time to get my license to drive a car, I was like, the vision is freedom, right? The vision was freedom and independence. It was like, when I get my license, man, I'm going to drive wherever I want. Like, no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to go to the McDonald's drive-through at 11 o'clock at night if I want to. And that was freedom. Like, so vision comes first before you learn how to drive. And then what happens is you get in the car and you realize how bad you are at it. However, it's the journey that you have to do to get better and, become conscious and unconsciously competent in the learning stages of doing anything. But vision is the thing that drives you and keeps you on track, because let's face it, if we all jumped in a car and we didn't know how to drive, and then we just said, right, drive, you've got a wheel, you've got three pedals, you've got a stick thing here, you've got mirrors everywhere. It's very overwhelming. If you didn't have the vision, you'd probably just go,
stuff that.
I'll walk. Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to go walk. And then you've got you jump in with some other people and they're all screaming at you and they're all, telling you how bad a driver you are, and they're going to get off the road. And some people have quite high anxiety around, learning to drive. However, it's the vision that pushes people to the outcome. And so this is no different. When we first started, it was like, we didn't know what was possible until we sort of heard the stories of other people. Mm-hmm. Then what we had to do at some point is you have to forget about their stories and start writing your own. Mm. And the first thing is you've got to have a vision for your life. What do you want? What do you want to get out of it? These are the questions. What do you want to get out of it? What are you willing to pay? Like, what is the sacrifice that you're willing to give in order to accomplish something? And then, do you have the NAS? Do you have the sweat and the grit in order to see it through? Mm-hmm. I mean, that can be applied to anything. Some people have great vision. They just lack action. They lack the action that is needed in order to fulfill on it. So when we saw this for ourselves, we had to look at each other and say, are we willing to do it? It's great to hear other people's stories, and you get a certain amount of belief rubbed off on you from other people, but at some point you have to do it to believe it. You have to do it yourself. You have to put one step in front of the other in order to walk. And you can see everyone else walking around you when you're like a kid. You see everyone else walking around, you're like, yeah, well, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it too. But at some point you're going to have to, cop the bruises. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to fall over. You're going to have to pull yourself up again. You're going to have to, work these legs out. And all the while you're like, vision is like, it's freedom. It's just funny that we're always trying to go for freedom. Freedom seems to be the most generic vision, most used vision out there. It's like, yeah, well, I just want freedom because then I'll be free. And it's like, okay, well, and that you have look at how it's played out in life so far. So learning to drive, learn to walk, your first job, being your own boss, being an entrepreneur, being a visionary, just like all for a greater purpose than what we have at the moment. So vision is very important.
Great. Thank you. And you touched on, wearing the bruises. have there been, can you share with us some of your bruises, or what I call, what have been your failures, that you've had to pick yourself up from?
Lots of them. Learnings.
Learning.
It's either you become victorious in the outcome, or you learn from it. And so, look, every day there are setbacks. There are, relying on other people will let you down. Circumstances will let you down. Other things outside of your control, your environment will let you down. There are all these things that when you bite off more than you can chew, it's almost like everyone you hear often people talk about, it's like, well, when you're in alignment, everything just aligns itself. And once you have your minds, in the right direction, then the universe is conspiring to help you win it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's entirely true. Like, I think that what happens is, as soon as you step out of that comfort zone, the world is going to teach you how crazy and hectic it really is out there. And it's really going to pose the question, how bad do you want it? It's going to test you. Life is waiting out there right now to slap you in the face, right? Like, it doesn't care about your vision. It really doesn't care. It is a crazy, violently, thing spinning out of control. And we're just these little, specks on it. And so this universe that we live in, I don't know if there is something guiding you or whatever else. I think you guide yourself. I think that, your determination, your grit, your conversation that you have in your head, the amount of things that, like, when you bite off more than you can chew, you're gonna have lessons coming at you at 100 miles an hour every single day. It's up to you to take the learnings. It's up to you to get up. It's up to you to sort of go, oh my gosh, okay, well, I'm never going to do that again. Most people, though, well, I'm not going to generalize that. I'm going to say some people who fail to get back up are the ones that never learn the lesson, right? That's the point. I look forward to more challenges along the way, because it's a test of character. It's a test of how bad you really want it. They may be sent there for a reason to say, you know what, like the story I shared with you about, wanting to be an actor. That was my vision. My vision was to be on stage and, be on musicals and, be in the West End and all this sort of different stuff. However, my environment said, well, prove it.
There's the dog.
You know what I mean? Like, get the dog.
Sorry, Brett. Actor, vision, West End, musicals.
Yeah. So, it was like the moment I sort of declared that to the world that that's what I want to do, the universe is like, well, prove it. Let's see how bad you really want it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of times in my life where I've sort of thought about different things and gone, oh, I want to do that. And then some way, shape or another, it fizzles out. Like, it's like the firecracker that never goes off. You light it, but it just sizzles out. So there's a lot of those times. And again, that's what guides you. It's like your sat nav, your internal roadmap. It's sort of like it guides you through. And so when we came across this, it was like, you should really go for it. You should go for it. And you should put everything into it. You should, and you bring all those years of wisdom with you to be able to see what you're capable of inside of here. And this industry, we have taught the industry as much as the industry has taught us, in terms of what we're able to achieve, what we're able to do, what we sacrifice and what we pour into it in order to be where we are today. So it's, the challenges are a partnership with the learnings or the failures, because they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. It's like the yin yang, right? You can't have one without the other.
I love it. Personal question. Is there a lesson you've had to learn several times?
I'm trying to think of one in particular. There are a lot of lessons that keep coming at me, like, man, I told you, maybe more action, to action more things. Because I don't know, like I'm sure everyone does, but we always come up with great ideas, but it's about putting the action into it. That is a lesson for a lot of things, is because it's like all the things I want to do and yet to do, but don't get to do. And that lesson keeps coming up. It's like, if only you put action into something, if only you did it. And, it's funny that you mentioned that, because it's like, this is coming up for us, in our conversation about, where we want to go and what we want to do with our life and lots of different stuff. And I tend to find that we have great ideas. It's about putting focused action into things in order to bring things to fruition. So that's a lesson that, it's like, just do it. Just do it. I hate that should be on a shirt, but it is. But it's clear, right? It creates clarity. It's like, forget about all the conversation and all that sort of stuff, and just go do it. Just go do it. You work something out. It's a good idea. Go do it. Because why? Because of what we just spoke about just before. And that is, you'll either get an outcome, then you'll be able to see it from a different point of view. You'll have the perspective. You'll have the mental, like the mind notes that you've accomplished from it, or you'll be taught something along the way. And those things are the things that, that keep coming up.
Cool. Thank you. Do you have any specific daily or morning routines or habits?
Well, I get my kids up, put my dogs out every day, brush my teeth. That's
Excellent.
a habit.
That's excellent.
If you're sort of thinking, do I meditate for like any length of time? And, do I wake up when the sun comes up? And man, I'm just trying to get through life the best way I can. I wish I was more dedicated to mindfulness and, and waking up, like being part of the 5 a.m. club and all these different things. However, life is chaotic. So sometimes I get up early, sometimes I don't. So I don't really try to form structure, because I think if I do and I don't carry like through with it, then what do I let myself down? Do I let everyone else down? All my fellow 5 a.m. clubbers, if you're part of the 5 a.m. club, and guess what? B-Dog didn't get up until 6 o'clock this morning. He's like, sorry guys, I'll try harder tomorrow. So yeah, my kids take up most of my energy, and so it's really about getting them organized.
But can I tell you, B-Dog, that is a relief to hear for me personally, because I have so many intentions of doing journaling or gratitude or meditation or the Tony Robbins stuff. And it's kind of just, 4 kids, one less than you. It's just a time of life. So it's actually reassuring to hear that.
We're just humans.
We're just humans.
Some people are really dedicated in some areas and they fall down in others. And, it's like, you just pick your priorities. And for us, we give our priorities to our kids first and foremost, because they rely on us, and we made a conscious decision to have children, and our children, deserve that attention. So we really are of service to them. And, especially in the mornings, like, man, I would love to wake up earlier and journal. I just wouldn't know what to write.
Well, some of these questions might help you reflect, but I love that, because it comes on to my next question is, can you talk to the concept of work-life balance and this balance and building a business and seeing a vision and wanting that vision in the shape of a business versus family, personal health, self-love, self-care. Can you speak to us on that?
Well, is there balance? That really is the question, to balance things. It's a matter of priority. So for us, working from home is definitely a gray area. Let's just be honest here. People want that whole freedom of working from home. We were just talking about it today, Sammy and I, and we're like, we need to put a lock on our door and lock ourselves in it when we're working from home. We need to, you really need structure and accountability to get a job done. Otherwise, especially working from home, there are a million other things you should be doing, and it's staring you glaringly in the face. It's like, I should really be dominating the world at the moment, but here I am feeding dogs and washing up.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to dominate the world? How am I going to see through my vision if all I'm doing is picking up kids' toys all day? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it is such and for anyone listening to this, it's not as it seems, right? Like, it's not like, okay, well, first of all, and I can hear those questions that you're asking, and that is, do you wake up and you have like these moments of gratitude, and then you meditate, and then you levitate, and then you yoga pose, and then you make your smoothie bowl, and then you greet the day, and you bow down to the sun as it comes up, and then what you do is then you get everything in order, and you kiss the kid, these kids who politely just walk out the door without saying anything, and they're very well behaved, and then all of a sudden you can then focus on all your daily gratitudes, and you get your checklist out, and you get your whiteboard out, and you tick things off in alphabetical order, and then it all floats, and all of a sudden at the end of the day you kiss each other and you say, you know what, well done on dominating the world for the day. It's like, that ain't happening in this house. I can tell you now, it's like chaos. There's things going on. There are people that need to be picked up. There are things that happen out of our control. There are times that we need to be focused on one thing when we're frustrated because we need to be doing something else. And there's sometimes when we're staring at something and we're being so non-productive is because we can't get into creative flow. And create, like, having an opportunity like this where you're able to think creatively, where you don't have a boss who has a deadline and has, they want to use your energy. You are totally energetic to your own vision, in which case some days it's like 9 a.m. in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm ready to check in here. I'm going to start my job. I'm going to start my day. And you're like, hours go past and you're like, I can't think of anything to do. And then 9 o'clock at night, you're like, oh my God, this is how we're going to do it. And then you get on the computer and you're like, and you're up until 1 a.m. in the morning. You're like, God, where'd that come from? And it's like, so you never, it's this gray area. It's not like checking in and checking out. It's sort of, it's like a mesh of everything. Or it's like this melting pot of chaos, structure, as well as, ideas and creative process, as well as other priorities, as well as other commitments. It's just like, that's life. That's as much as I know anyway. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like out of my eyeballs.
Absolutely. The red hot mess all the time, right?
That's it.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things you said about getting your creative juices at the wrong time of the day. And then you end up being awake till 1 a.m. in the morning, which makes the 6 o'clock school run call very challenging. But that's actually, I feel like that you just got to roll with that sometimes and be okay with, okay, yeah, you're a bit sleep deprived now, but no one's going to die, because you can't turn it on exactly when you need it. So that, once again, thank you. That's reassuring. Now, I wanted to talk about friendships. And do you tend, Tony Robbins says we tend to become we become the 5 people we spend the most time with. Do you tend to hang around with like-minded people? Are your friends, do they think like you? Are they like you? Or are you, what are your views on that?
I wish I could find more people like me. But then I like people, I like colorful things. So people come in all different shapes and sizes. It would be a boring world if we all just lived the same. I tend to just energetically hang out with people who are on the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it interesting? Wavelength and energy. But I don't sort of go, hang on a minute, before we can be friends, there's a few things, like there's a bit of a checklist going on here that you need to fulfill, right? What are your goals and objectives? What are your outcomes? Are you into world domination? Are you entrepreneurial? I tend to sort of just like hang out with people who are just cool and, you know, they're up to things, and I love hearing about their stories, and those people who have, you know, interesting lives to me, and those people who are up to things, then I ask them to come back tomorrow and be friends again. You know, friendship is such a strange thing. It's like, yeah, you picked out this human. You're like, yeah, we get along really well. You know, we say the same stuff, or, you know, we dress the same wherever else. Yeah, let's all hang out together. It's like, it's just very weird. At the moment, though, I mean, like this world is definitely throwing, like I said, the universe is not here to conspire with you. It's just going to do its thing, and you're going to just have to deal with it. And like we're all seeing at the moment, that is, we're all stuck at home. We're all locked away. So having these, you know, friends, I mean, we're relying on social connection via machinery to get our, you know, our voice heard and to interact. So it is a very different place. It's almost like, you know, you can't remember the last time we all got together and had a bit of a, you know, a good time, because it's been a while. It's been, and we're all people, like, we're humans. We need to interact. We need to connect. We need to communicate with other people. We need to be in that environment. So it's quite artificial at the moment. So, but yeah, I'd hang around with the high achievers. I'd love to, you know, just pick my top 5, you know, my starting 5 basketball teams. I want to hang around, and we can, you know, go and win all the world titles, but they don't all live in the same area. Like, I tend to sort of hang around with people who are geographically in the same area. So, you know, I just got to roll with the punches. I hang around, you know, that's life.
And do you have many school friends that you're still in touch with?
Not many. Not many. I'm actually up for my 25-year reunion this year. And so we're in conversation with a lot of them at the moment in terms of trying to work that one out. I don't know how that's going to go. But look, Facebook does a lot of the work for us these days. Like, I sort of find that, you know, you can sort of have people who are friends who you can see their life and they can see your life, which you don't have much interaction. So it's a little bit like you sort of feel like you're still connected, even though you don't talk as much as you should. Yep. So, you know, I sort of have those people still around. I still have a lot of the people that I used to cook with around. But, you know, in terms of our environment, you know, the things really hold dear to us is definitely our family is number one. So, you know, I spend most time with my family, spend the most time with Sammy and the kids. So, you know, that really, we're busy. We're busy enough to, you know, to sort of, you know, our hands are full. So having more people around, it's sort of like, you know, it's like, oh, can I really fit more people in this house? How about we'll just meet up. We'll go to like a central location where we can all hang out. But, you know, after that, we like our own space, and that's, you know, hence why we live on a farm, because we're away from everyone. So that's, you know, that's very important for us. We like our own space, and we're loud, so you don't want to live near us anyway.
So, Brett, 2 questions coming from that, and I'll probably forget the second one. But the first one, would you call yourself an introvert or an extrovert? And let me just give my views on that. So extrovert doesn't mean you can't talk on stage or anything, but it's actually, where do you get your energy from? Do you need people around you to give you energy, or are you an internally generated energy?
Yeah, well, if I measure it with that yardstick, I'm definitely introverted. I'm definitely introverted. You know, I love my own space. You know, I love coming up. I love being in my own thoughts and stuff, as opposed to, you know, having to go to the source of inspiration to get my inspiration. I feel, you know, I've done a lot of work in the past, and I feel that the inspiration, motivation, creative sort of flow can definitely come from within. So I'm best at being introverted. Like, we don't have parties every week and like have, you know, I've got to be around people all the time. So I love just, you know, yeah, introverted.
Yep. Same here.
New way I look at it.
Same here. And yet everyone goes, oh, how can you be like that? You're so good talking. Da, da, da. It's like that would be the acting background, because I also have an acting background. I did not know that we had that in common, but we do.
There you go.
Yep. So last three
Yeah.
questions.
Yep.
What advice would you give your younger self?
I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I would just say, just because where I am today is a product of every decision and every wrong and right turn that I've made. In which case, I wouldn't tell my younger self to do anything different, because I love where I am now. And so, and I am grateful for the learnings that have happened. I'm grateful for the wrong turns. I'm grateful to find myself in situations where, it was dark. I'm grateful for the times where I've had humongous success. And because it's like that domino, if I went back now, it's like the Back to the Future. You go back to the future and you change something of the past, then I wouldn't be here today. Yeah. I wouldn't be sitting right here in this moment in time. So the what I would say to them is just keep going. Just do that. Yeah. Do more. Trust yourself would be the word. It would definitely be, trust your gut.
And this is a sort of a strange one, because I hear you personally talk about this a lot in our business, but what advice would you give a fellow, I was going to say entrepreneur, but you can change that question. So fellow person wanting to achieve similar goals to yourself?
Yeah, well, I would suggest is to go all in. Like, we got one shot at this thing. Like, you get one shot. I was watching a video. Well, Teddy was watching a video this morning on David Attenborough, and his life story, and all these different videos that he's been done, and all the documentaries, and just the life that he's lived. And he's all in, right? He is all encompassing. The way he lives his life and who he is the product of him being on this earth. And he's only got a certain amount of time. He's like talking about, one day he's going to be gone. Well, it's inevitable. And it's like, well, that's the same here. So why not go all in on you? If you can't go all in on you, then who are you waiting for to do it? If you have an idea, if you have a thought, if you have something that is you're passionate about, you have like an opportunity to do something, you have an opportunity to succeed or create outcomes for yourself and your life, then go all in. Like burn your boats, because there's no coming back. There's no coming back. Nor should you want to go back and restart it again. It should be forward facing and burn it. Like, there's no retreats. Like, otherwise you never fully will grasp what potential that idea or that thought or that that vision was able to, what you're able to achieve. So go all in until you see something through to the fruition, to the absolute end. Because what's the point otherwise? Like, what's the point that you tiptoe through this thing, that you just try it, like you sample? I'd rather get in and eat the whole bloody buffet, right? Rather than just sample like bits on the side. It's like, let's go all in. We might as well, because it's the experience that is the most rewarding. It's the journey that's the most rewarding. It's not, like the journey to $1 million. Like, if you have in your mind, I want to make $1 million, right? It's not the $1 million. It's what it makes of you in order to achieve it, because that's worth millions. That's priceless, is that experience, that wisdom, that idea. Because then once you understand that that's the full learning, you can make $1 million over and over again. You can make millions of bucks, everywhere you go, because you are the asset. It's your life experience, your vision, your opinion, your beliefs, your wisdom, your point of view on this earth that makes you the asset. And that's where humans become priceless.
Thank you so much, Brett, for giving up your time to do that interview and podcast with me. Ladies and gents, if you enjoyed that podcast, I have got 4 more interviews already lined up, which I'm super excited about. Some of them are names that you will know, and if you are wanting to know when they're available to listen to, click subscribe on the Apple Podcast, or I believe it's follow on Spotify, so that you get notified when a new episode is released. And that brings to an end episode 2 of the Born to Hustle podcast.